Testing, 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 and we're there. Time for a historical moment. In case you're wondering what the background is in my screen, that is a artistic depiction of apparently at one point, it was a number of years ago, a lone gunman walked into the Canadian parliamentary buildings and was threatening members of staff. The MLAs all ran away and hid. And the master of ceremonies, who is someone who carries around a ceremonial mace and is in no way in charge of security, but he is ceremonially in charge of security. It's this gentleman right here. Picked up a gun and chased him out of the building in accordance with his ancient duties handed down from medieval times, given where our parliamentary system comes from. And so a lot of people were making memes of his ability in terms of Warhammer 40K things. So another piece of Canadian history is that someone similar also broke in to our Prime Minister's house and was threatening people, and security did not notice, and he was chased out by the Prime Minister's wife after she hit him on the head with some sort of kitchen implement. And so Canadian security is very, very different from security as we observe it from down south. If you could get out your notebooks and notes from last day, we are going to continue. Your assignment... That's this one. Where were we? Nope. Yep.
If we're really good students, are we allowed to leave class 15 minutes early to watch the volleyball games?
What's that? Sorry?
If we're really good students, are we allowed to leave class?
No, we're not going to leave class to go watch the volleyball game. Now, if we did that, we'd all go, but I haven't gotten a notice. Where is it? There it is. Nope. Okay. This is the last piece that we're doing. Sorry that took so long to get through. So what we were doing is, what are some of the objections to the fact that it's an objective moral theory? These are things to keep in mind because we're going to be using moral ethics as an objective stance throughout the time. You should be aware of some of the objections to them, and you should be aware of some of the responses to those objections, and it gives you something to think about to decide are ethics objective or subjective? Because at the end of the day, if they're relative or subjective, they're totally up to you, whatever you want them to be. They're whatever flavor of society you like living in, you can just go with people and make that society. If, however, there are things in the world that you would morally condemn, you would say, this is always wrong. I don't care where you are in the world, maybe slavery is a bad thing. Then you need to sort of justify why you think that and why you should be able to tell other people who have been doing a practice for a very long time why it's wrong for them to do that. It's part of their culture. It's part of their belief system. Why are you able to impose something? This one finishes up what we were doing a little bit, because this can sometimes come out of the example that we did in class, the prisoner's dilemma. And we get into game theory. Now, can our sense of ethics have evolved from game theory? Sure, absolutely. But game theory shares a lot in common with rational choice theory. What should people do in order to get along in a community? You will see these texts defend things in previous times. So if we look at rational choice theory, we will find defenses during suffrage that defend women not having voting rights, for example. Because women, naturally, in terms of rational choice, should be the people who are concerned with the home and the family and the children, and should not bother their little brains about politics, because that is clearly the man's domain. And so by rational choice theory, it makes total sense for the men to have the vote and for the women to not vote. Until about 1982, you couldn't get a loan in Canada if you were female without your husband's permission. My mother was fired from the bank she worked at the day she told her boss that she was getting married. That was a completely normal event. Because if you're getting married, obviously you can't have a job, because especially at a bank where it's prestigious, because you're going to be needing to take care of the children. And a lot of rational choice theory is like, for a community to get along, we have to have separation of roles. Ethics disrupts a lot of rational choice theory. People come along and say, maybe women should have a vote, not because it's convenient, and not because this seems like the most rational choice for society right now, but because it's right. And so it doesn't fit well. You'll hear a lot of just so stories from evolutionary bits, like in the past, cave people did this. I'm not entirely sure that cave people is the best way to describe all of human prehistory, but and that's why we should also do things this way today. What we did in the past doesn't have anything to do with what we do today. Whether or not it's actually rational choice to make our society work, or whether or not it's right for the individual, are entirely different questions. And so that's the last one, is that when we try to define it purely as something like the prisoner's dilemma, what's the most rational choice? Well, the prisoner's dilemma, we can see how cooperation would have evolved. If you're playing that game over and over and over again, cooperation will net you the least number of years. Unless, you pair up with someone extremely gullible and they just keep letting you cheat on them every single time. But if we do everything according to that theory, we also don't get any of the other stuff. We don't get all the moral progress that has disrupted society. Everything from feminism, gay marriage, abortion, trans rights. All of these things are things that have been greatly disruptive to our society, and then we've had to settle out and handle at a time. And so that's the last piece we're going to do on that. I think actually we're now completely switched. Nope. There's a couple more things. Yep. Rational choice theory is when you look at the behavior of people and you say, what would be the best thing to do for everybody to get along, and you have the best outcome in society.
Based on their behavior?
Based on what's good for the society. What's the most rational choice? So, for example, you're in Canada, 1970s. It is completely normal practice to be fired from work if you're female and if you're about to get married. That works out really well. Men get paid a little bit more, as is natural and only right. And there needs to be someone at home to take care of the kids. And so from a rational choice, it does make a lot of sense to divide up labor that way. And at that time, these are the kind of arguments you'd read in newspapers, not in the 70s. Well, actually, yeah, probably then too. But also when women's suffrage was first really happening. In fact, now that I think about it, I still read things defending those along that choice lines. You will still see particularly sort of like middle-aged, balding, white, mediocre podcasters. That's a whole genre in which they will say, like, women should be in the home and what this is. And they will talk about how it's rational to do that. And when we look at are we treating people ethically, equally, same rights, we often will disrupt these agreements. And so if we want to reduce morals to rational choice theory, we do have to deal with the fact that often it disrupts the rational choices at that time. Now, today, I think we've come a long way in terms of equality in many areas, not all quite yet, but society changes over time to adapt to the ethics, and it doesn't seem quite the other way around. So I'm going to leave it there. You don't have to write this down. This is just sort of the last thing, is that I'm going to continue after this when we next do our ethics thing, that ethics are objective. We're going to talk about a bunch of different objective ethical systems, and you get to decide whether you're going to use them in the same way you might use a new type of math, but you get to decide whether or not you believe in it. Is this something that actually makes sense? Do I have an ethical objective? And the useful thing is, even if you don't believe it, they still will work for argument. If someone knows you're from a utilitarian perspective, you can construct an argument to tell them why what they're doing is wrong. And that will work regardless of where they're in. So now, the 10 Commandments. Before I leave this, we're going to actually leave this and start on like pure arguments in a moment. Let's take a look at the 10 Commandments as an older version of rules. And if you would like to use another one, you absolutely can. Oh, where do we have? There we go. But I am most I grew up in a vaguely Protestant home. Let's take a look at these. Now, these, from a period of time, I'm the Lord your God. You shall not have strange gods before me.
Are you writing these down?
No. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain. No swearing. Remember to keep holy the Lord's day. Honor your father and your mother. You shall not kill. You shall not commit adultery. Does everybody here know what adultery is? Cheating. I should have got you. You had your hand up. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. I like how that's different than this one. You shouldn't even think about it. That's only your neighbor, though. That's a good point, actually. If it's not your neighbor, covet away. You're just scrolling on Instagram. You shall not cover your neighbor's goods. So, I'm going to give you a task for a second. And I just realized I haven't done attendance, so I need to do that very quickly first before I give you the task. Options. Attendance. Alejandra? Annabelle? Anderson? And Had? And there you go. Archie? Ben? Brandon? Casey? Clara? Felix? Clara? Felix? Felix? You have to say here loudly. Hugo? Kate M? Kate M? Kate W? Kieran? Lily? Lisa? Naomi? Parker? Thomas? Timmy? Violet? William? Zane? Zoe? Excellent. Saved. Toolkit. I don't know if you remember the task that you were given a while ago in which I said, here's a bunch of value judgments. And I want you to separate them into two different type of value judgments. Some were moral value judgments. Some were just judgments. I want to do a similar task here. I want you to decide, are all of these moral value judgments going from divine command theory? You would say they were. But if you can take a step back and say, not divine command theory, if we were to look at these independently, which one of these are clearly moral? And which are these things that you should do because it's part of your culture? Which of these are moral commandments? And which of these are just like religious commandments, if I can put a spin on it like that?
All religious commandments?
Yeah, the moral ones, but moral religious commandments versus like, because go to church on Sunday or go to church on Saturday, two different religions. The religion would probably say those are like, for us, that's true. But would we say that is like, do not steal? Does that help? Yeah. Okay, so, get in those groups. I want you to decide on those people.
There's creatures.
There's creatures now, no eggs.
No.
Yeah. You all now have a creature associated with your name.
Aren't you excited?
Can we see like the commandments here?
Yeah, you can. What? You mean you don't have them memorized? Okay. I'm going to move it away. Everybody seen themselves?
Which ones are like
Now, also, I don't know if I said this clearly before I get attention. The reason I am using the Ten Commandments is because I grew up with them and I feel a bit more comfortable discussing them in the same way that if you're from a culture, you can discuss the culture. If this is a little offensive to you, please let me know. If there's anything, we're just discussing them overall. If you were like, I have a whole different set of commandments from my religion. We should do it with that. You're also welcome to tell me those. I just don't want to do that because I would probably make mistakes. Okay? Go. And someone once showed me one. They had 102 or something. Yeah, it's a giant one. So, think which one of those are moral?
First three are for sure. What is moral? Oh yeah, the Ten Commandments. I am the Lord. No, I'm if my neighbor kills somebody, or if I hate, that's not what it is. If I hated my neighbor enough, I'd lie about him.
Do you know what this means? False witness?
Yeah.
Not just lying. Lying where?
In court.
In court of law.
Do they catch me?
It's in a court of law.
They don't know.
I'm just gonna say it's in a court of law.
If I hated my neighbor enough, I'd
Very strict.
Hey, are you including your whole group?
That's my question.
That's a low.
Oh,
Yeah, that's like.
yeah.
Number 9 is
Oh, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
number 6.
What's that? Number 6. Oh, yeah, I guess
It
that's
could be moral.
That's more
You
religious.
could have beliefs that you don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's not moral.
Or something like that. You do
What's that? 9, I think that's
Don't be jealous of your neighbor's wife.
religious. Moral.
If my neighbor, I'll be really jealous.
I'm just gonna say
Moral. Oh, really?
It's good. It just means like.
Don't be jealous of your neighbor's wife.
we're going both.
That's religious.
Actually, that.
Get my morals. Like 9 and 10. If my neighbor got a brand new car, or bought like a house on the street, I could get it.
Jealous, like.
This you shall not bear false witness against another. Is it like you should not speak against your neighbor? Or is it like
No, in a court of law.
Yeah.
You should not lie in a court of law against your false witness.
Thank you. I guess when they say
Well, I'm not going to examine the breadth of that, but yeah, it says neighbor, which means like
when they say neighbor, they usually mean like
I think it's like worse than
in the community. Yeah.
Because jealousy is like, oh yeah, we should
Because
have that.
there's a bit of poetic license. Remember, it's also translated. The King James version, I pay a lot of attention to how the word sounded, so it sounded poetic. Not always the best translation. So neighbor in this case, yeah, you're in the community. Are we good? We got one? All of them. Close to all of them. I think I know. You want it to be jealous of. Want that for yourself. No. If you want it just because you're accompanying your neighbors. You're accompanying your neighbors. Yeah, not just goods in general. Yeah, you should not be accompanying your neighbors. Yeah, jealous is a good way to put it. Here, I'll put a definition on it. In case I'm not doing it well.
It's in the other books.
yeah, like
Yearn to possess or have.
and not just because it's good, but
Because they have it. Have you ever heard of the phrase keeping up with the Joneses? Have you heard that phrase?
I know the
You know the phrase? Do you know what that phrase means? That's when someone is, your neighbors get a new car, so you feel like you got to get a new car. Your neighbor gets a promotion to your job, you're feeling bad, you got to get a promotion to your job. They put in a swimming pool, you got to put in a swimming pool.
so simply just
Because they got it, you got to get it.
you feel like
So there's probably elements of jealousy in there, maybe, but it's you're yearning to have what your other
and they're saying don't do that. That's not necessarily
you. break down a little down that a little bit. If you start doing this now, you don't know how the world works. If the world works in a certain way, because ethics say that's how it works, right? Ethics asks, shoot it.
Yeah, that's true. That's how people
And right now, there was a time where the world worked by not buying their employees. People thought it was impossible to work another way. Now we have capitalism. People think it's impossible to make maybe we should see the means of reduction.
Well, you have like injustice. You have like small kingdoms, and then one side wants to tackle the other one, and then make it all work. That's kind of how they make countries. And then it's just like sort of shifted from like into like I guess they just kind of saw it.
Well, you look,
That is not taken all the roles. And instead of they do this, they've gotten lazy. Instead of them doing this, they've hired
how that history works is a bunch of nobles went, and this is Magna Carta, went to the royal family and said, kick, we want some of the rights you have. And so they had to give up some of it. It wasn't for the economy, it was for other nobles. And then eventually people went, kick to the nobles, we want some of the rights you have. So it spread out. And now the royal family is mostly irrelevant, but they still have a lot of privileges. The king, for example, doesn't require passport. His face seeks a passport. Okay, I'm going to get you to stop. I hear good arguments. I deliberately picked a group size of 4 because that's the second worst size. There we go. But I'm just going to check in. A check is going to mean that you believe it is a moral commandment as opposed to just a cultural religious commandment. So 1, moral commandment. One person in the group just put up a hand. 1, no. 2. Everybody's allowed to swear. 3. Yeah. I should say Quebec swearing. Are you familiar with Quebecois? Almost all their swear words are some sort of religious term. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that would be swearing. Yeah. Shh. Remember to keep holy the Lord's Day. 3. Is that 1? No. Okay. We're not doing honor your father and your mother. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just one person in each group. That's every group, I think. Okay. You shall not kill. Is there one? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like how some of those were late.
Oh, wait, pause. Yeah, we're in there.
Okay. Well, we might discuss whether or not these are good or not, but that's after. Just not is this the best commandment? Is it a moral commandment? You should not commit adultery. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, 1. So some people think it's okay to cheat. Interesting. You shall not steal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One group thinks that's fine. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's like multiple people in the group. I think there was 4 there in total. I like how though coveting your neighbor's husband, totally fine. Totally fine. Unless he's covered under goods. You shall not covet your neighbor's goods. 1, 2.
Wait, for being moral?
Yeah. All of these are for being moral. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I going to ask.
No, that's like hoping they're good. I have no idea. Don't like them, like they're good.
Appoint a spokesperson. Could I have a volunteer from A group? Why is this not a moral commandment? Your hand first, so don't ask her, and then I'm going to go through all the groups. So this is now your question. Why is that? Why is that not a moral commandment? One second, I don't have everybody. Who's that? Who's that behind you? Oh, so turn around. Okay, Zane, why is the first one not a moral commandment?
Not a moral commandment.
Well, that's what your group said.
It's a religious commandment.
Why?
Because it's essentially telling you that your Lord is God, and God is saying that you must obey them and only them. And it's kind of like, I think most people wouldn't care that much. And also, it's like just for us, the prospect of just saying God makes it.
Right. So you've noticed that this seems very prescriptive. And if someone believes in something else, they'd be crossing this. Just believing. So probably then that's just, if you're in the religion, you should do that. I also, especially when I was a kid and I read this, I was always like, the whole thing teaches there actually other gods don't exist. And then this one side kind of says, well, they kind of do. They're just strange. I always felt that was suspicious. Okay, so just religion then. Volunteer, since all groups, you shall not take the name of your Lord in vain. Yes?
It is definitely religious, because if you're like, you don't have a religion, or you don't believe in Christianity, then you can do it, I guess.
Yeah.
And you won't get in trouble with like the commandments, but like.
Right. So if you don't believe in the religion and you swear, probably okay. Just so you're aware, there's research on swearing. And if you are, say, you walk up and you've got a hammer and then like you hit your hand really hard by accident, and then you swear, by the way, that's a trick. You can do it as hard as you want, it doesn't hurt.
Do what?
And you swear, you actually will reduce. That was a monkey see, monkey do. If you swear, you actually release endorphins and decrease the amount of pain you feel.
So swearing.
Swearing actually helps with pain. And they've shown the same thing, that it helps with emotional pain. So if like somebody just broke up with you and you're feeling really down, swearing can help. However, we're in grade 10, we can talk about swearing without doing a lot of giggling. Stop hitting. If, however, you swear all the time, there is no benefit. You get none of the benefit if you commonly swear. So, our rules about swearing in the school are just there to help you, so that it's there for you when you need it most. Aren't we kind? Remember to keep holy the Lord's Day. You've already answered one, so your group is out for now. Yes?
That's definitely religious.
You said definitely religious. Why?
Because it's literally like, it's the Lord's day, your Lord,
Right.
Lord of your religion. So
Yeah.
give the holy day.
Right. So, at one point in time, it was actually illegal to work on Sunday. Because primarily the people around happened to believe in this particular religion, and then there was always other people who were like, well, we don't believe, so we're not going to do that. And eventually the law recognizes that's not a moral commandment for society, that's specific to the religion, and people have freedom of religion. This is why if you go out on Christmas Day, you'll find all the Chinese restaurants are open, and filled with Jewish people, because that's what you do on Christmas Day. You go out and you have a nice meal and share with the people who aren't celebrating.
Why
Yeah.
Chinese food though?
It's literally a tradition as far as I know.
Like Jewish people go to Chinese restaurants. Oh.
Yeah.
United States.
No, just to be clear, I am not Jewish and I'm not speaking for everyone in any capacity. But of the people I've known, it seems weirdly popular in the same way like Kentucky Fried Chicken is really popular on Valentine's Day in Japan. It's just a thing. Yes, go.
Is that like the reason why?
Oh, hold it. People over here listen.
What's it called? Chick-fil-A. Is that the reason why they close on Sunday?
Yeah, the owners are religious, so they are doing it because they're religious and they're doing it for themselves. It's not mandated. There used to be blue laws, even after, I don't know why they were called blue laws, but even after it was legal to open, because it was still the association that on Sunday you shouldn't be doing bad things at least, it was mandatory by the government that alcohol stores and any gambling sites, like anything where you could go and sin, had to be shut down. And now it's just a preference whether they're open. I think the government store is closed on Sundays just because they give everybody, we've recognized also, it's nice to give people a day off. And so we've kept that aspect, but it's no longer mandatory. A business could start up and just say, we're gonna give you a day off, but our day off is going to be Wednesday and Thursday. They just run their stores like that. It would be up to them. And it would be up to people to be hired. Most people like Sunday off, so that's why most people do it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody was this. It was interesting. You're beaten by your parents every day. They're mean to you all the time. But this is a commandment. You must honor them. Anybody defending this one?
Well, you didn't ask that you're getting.
No, I just added it now. It was sort of emotional blackmail. Yep.
Oh, is this for defending if you're religious? Or is this defending
No,
either way?
everybody said that this
Oh.
is a moral prescribed.
Yeah,
Why?
it's because like your mom birthed you, so it's
Right.
like you have somewhat of a responsibility to like treat her nicely.
I like that.
'Cause it's
Not
like,
your dad.
She like, no, like not
Your mom.
No, your dad's like a friend. He like does nice things for you, but your mom like literally produced you.
Yeah.
Your dad's a
So I mean,
My dad, he's put in some work too.
So,
that's like my mom.
so for you specifically, it is honor your mother.
No, well, I honor my mom for different reasons than I honor.
Okay,
my
but you
dad.
still honor them.
Yeah,
Okay, and that's an absolute commandment. The rest of your life.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, moral. Yeah, okay.
Is it actually like a scientific fact, like they done research and stuff, like if you're going to die, like if you're going to call someone like, I don't know, mom, you don't call your dad, you call your mom, every person would do that. It's actually, I think they actually do a scientific research.
I don't know what it is. I'd have to ask I think someone would have to, there may be studies on it. The people you talk to are nurses on like cancer wards, I assume.
Yeah.
Or other type of areas in which they see a lot of that happening. I wouldn't doubt it because that's the first person probably that in our society, for example, that would take care of you. For example, on that note, and this is I'm now going to divert, so I'm going to go off of this for a moment, but to relate that, why would it always be your mom? There is the attitude I've heard expressed sometimes that the courts are unfairly biased against men. So when they're looking for custody usually goes to who? Mom. In Canada, I think I've mentioned this before, there's no such thing as parental rights. Everybody just has their own individual rights. You don't get rights over someone. That's weird. The parent exercises the rights on behalf of the child. So it's always in best interest of the children. So when the court is looking at who gets custody, what the court looks at is who is currently taking care of the children and who knows all the information. So who is already doing most of the child care, who knows the name of the teachers, who knows the names of the doctors, who has the numbers, and who has previously been making all of the appointments. And like I've had the school call me, hello, yes, your son seems to have injured himself. We don't need you to pick him up, but we just wanted the name of his doctor. My son has a metabolic disorder. And I'm like, can you tell him, like, you saw 2 numbers on that list, a mom and a dad, and you decided to call the dad? I don't know the name of his doctor. Call mom. Mom knows everything. That seems to be very common in our society, in which mom takes a primary care. So the courts do not actually have a bias when you control for who takes. So there are families where dad does all of that. If you control for that, it's actually slightly biased in favor of men. When it's equal, they will slightly more often go in favor of men. But if you just look at total numbers, it's more often women, it's more often the mothers, because women are more often the primary caregivers. Also, most of the time it's uncontested. So most of the time, mom will say, I will have primary custody, and dad will go, good. That's like 90% of the time.
Do they not factor in like say your parents live together and they get a divorce?
Yeah.
Do they not factor in like who has the house, who has like the income, like?
Yeah, they do.
So like, if the mom didn't work but knew all the phone numbers.
Yeah.
And the dad owned the house.
Right.
All the cars.
Yeah.
Had the salary.
Yeah.
To keep the.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Who would win in that case?
Well, remember, it's not about winning.
It's
about
best
best interest of the child.
Yeah.
So
but they both have.
Right. So what does
interests.
what does mom do?
Gives up.
No. Mom has been taking care of the kids. So what is mom's future role? Taking care of the kids. What was dad's role before?
Making money.
Making money. So what's dad's new role? Making money. And when the genders are reversed, the court decides in exactly the same way. There's no particular bias there. If your job before was to provide the house, cars, and clothing, then that's your job afterwards. You still have an obligation to your kids. And if you're no longer together and you only saw them after work or on the weekends, then your new custody arrangement will probably be after work or on weekends. And they'll divide that up best they can. But the courts are not interested in redefining new roles. They want to know who's already doing that. So it's based on what people are already doing. So child support is not going like, I'm going to pay you to babysit the children. It's, you have a responsibility to raise them. You were previously giving money. You should currently be giving money. Does that make sense? Does that, yeah.
What happens if you sign like a prenup?
Oh, yeah, you signed,
that's
it's a contract.
like, did you sign one when you got married?
Me?
Yeah.
No. I would, because I would have been smacked down so hard.
What's a prenup?
A prenup is when you say, I have all this money, and I love prenups when people do it, because what you're saying, I don't trust this person at all, and so I'm going to make you sign a prenup and still get married to you.
So if you do have a prenup,
Yeah.
then you don't split money and you get.
No, it goes by the contract. It's a contract. Yeah,
Like you keep what's yours.
yeah.
That's not like
Now-
if you expect a divorce on
It's kind of like, okay, it's like insurance. Like,
Yeah.
if you buy a car, you're not expecting to crash it, but just in case you crash it.
In a way, yeah. You're going to promise that you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, except you're not. You're going to sign a contract saying, but if we don't.
because like you never know what
But
some thoughts they
just-
have going on.
Just to be clear though, if you do a prenup, but there are children involved afterwards that weren't part of the prenup, and let's say you were like very clear in the prenup, like the prenup said, afterwards we all keep our own stuff, you don't get anything extra, and if there are children, I'm not going to give you child support. That prenup will be broken by a court like that.
Why?
Because were the children around to sign the prenup? You have a moral obligation.
Because it's in the best interest of the children, right?
Best interest of the children.
So if it,
But if you signed a prenup that says, you're a very, very wealthy person, you don't even see poor people because people put blinders over your eyes so you can never see anything bad. And then you have a prenup that says, I'm only going to give each of my children $1 million a year. And that's still a tiny fraction of what you're worth.
yeah.
The court will probably go, yeah, that's fair. They're going to have a great life with that. You don't need to provide anymore. You're giving them, if you just said, if you were very wealthy and you said in your prenup, I'm only going to give them $14,000 a year, like very basic income, the court would probably also break that. You can clearly afford more and they would normally get more and you're not providing all the things you would normally provide.
So if I'm a kid and like I come along and I think that like can
There and there.
the children say what they want in their best interest?
They can say, but it depends how old they are.
So they can't like demand what they want based on what they
Again,
think is in their best interest.
Court goes best interest of the child. If the child is like, I want to only live with mom, the court is going, you had a previous relationship with your father. That is a necessary and good thing. We're going to make sure that the father has weekend visiting or custody. You had a previous. The courts will also say, like, grandparents don't. There's no grandparent rights. But let's say your grandma babysat you every day, and then divorce happens, and the other parent goes, I don't want grandma anywhere near my kid. The court can step in and say, they had a pre-existing relationship that was good for the child. You must allow that.
How is the court supposed to know what your relationship status is with your family members?
They will interview and talk to people. Child services will interview and talk to people. Yeah, like investigation. Last two and then
No,
we'll
you
go
asked
to the
me.
Yep, last one.
What happens about the money that they need during the marriage? Is
That's unless there's a prenup, anything you make during the marriage is split. In the state of California, a woman won the lottery, millions of dollars. She kept it a secret and divorced her husband the next day.
But then the money split, right? Because
She didn't tell anybody about the money.
isn't that illegal?
That's so illegal. And then when the court, and she didn't cash it for like 11 months later, so she waited most of a year so that hopefully everybody would forget, and then brought the ticket in and got all the money. Ex-husband found out, took her to court, and the court said, this was fraud. You absolutely shouldn't have done that. Obviously it's split out in the middle. So you now owe your ex-husband the entire amount. So she had to give everything she had left over, and her wages will be garnished for the rest of her life paying off the debt of the money she already spent. It is a really bad idea to lie about financial things in a divorce proceeding. Yeah, if she had just told it was split down the middle and they both would have shared. And then you could still get the divorce in 3 separate ways.
So like it was because it was fraud, then they gave all the money to the
Average
If it's like a multi.
Courts want to make sure that nobody does it again, so they put those cases in there so the people go to think twice.
Can you sign your prenup saying that like the money you make during the marriage is still just yours if you divorce?
If you cannot make a contract that is demonstrably unfair, especially if there's a power imbalance.
Actually, right, because if like it's a stay-at-home mom, then that kind of makes it hard.
Yeah. That's what spousal support used to be too. When we lived in a society when you get fired from your job and you get married, they don't have any skills. You have to keep paying them money because otherwise now the government. Anyway, moving on. I spent way too much time on this. A new group. Explain why this is a moral commandment. Did you already go, Hugo?
We have done.
Okay. Thou shalt not kill.
If I wrote stuff, can I not speak? Or can I speak?
I'll let you speak.
Let me speak?
I'll let you speak.
Oh, thank God. Killing is kind of morally wrong. It's not just in our religion that it's wrong. It's morally not.
But what if I believe in a religion where killing is a sacrament?
But there isn't.
Isn't that like it?
Fair point.
In some religions?
Pardon?
Isn't that in some religions?
Can we kill in modern society?
No.
Yes, you can.
Well, you can.
But isn't it anything like unless
No, when can you legally kill in modern
Can
society?
you legally kill?
Yeah.
Yes.
When?
When they kill. Defending yourself.
Defending yourself.
What's the religion?
Oh, I am going to go on another aside.
It's called a cult.
like the Aztec?
One of you, right now, don't do this. Especially you two who started hitting things right away.
It's okay.
Leaps up,
Sikhism?
tries to attack me. In my defense, as you are clawing at my face, I hold up the scissors because you have a knife, and I stab you, and you die. I'm gonna go to trial because somebody died, and they may go, you know what? That was self-defense. So you don't have to go to jail. It is a legal defense. If, however, I come to class with a pair of scissors in my pocket every day, and the express purpose, I've told you before, this is for self-defense, and I'm ready to kill anybody who tries to attack me. In Canada, you no longer have that right to self-defense.
So it's only when it's completely impossible.
It is only your right. If you are walking around with the intent to kill someone, then you no longer have that. You cannot walk around with the intent to hurt people. So if you buy a set of brass knuckles for personal defense to walk down dark streets at night, you are their view is you're looking for trouble.
So can you walk around with a kind of brass knuckles but say it's for like making pottery?
It's my jewelry.
What if it's for justice?
People have done this. So to give a real case, a woman sprayed a bunch of young men with bear spray in Vancouver, downtown, and she was like, I'm taking around a case of bears, and the court is like, you thought you'd see a bear in the middle of downtown Vancouver? She's like, yes. The court is just like, I don't believe you. You are guilty of assault. And the reason we do that is because those people she sprayed had no intention of attacking her. She was just frightened of them. And she sprayed them all with mace and just said, well, I felt afraid because they approached me. It was a dark street at night, and then one of them made an aggressive move, and there was they said. But from everything everybody could tell, they had no intention of doing anything. They weren't like a bunch of youths running around stealing stuff or attacking people. And so she just sprayed people. If you're walking around with a knife and there's a mistake, the potential for injury is much, much higher. So the courts do not want people walking around with the ability to hurt other people at all times. So that's why a lot of knives are illegal in Canada. You can't have like a butterfly knife because that's to get up quick to stab someone in self-defense. You can't have switchblades. If you wanted to get a gun, you have to go through a rigorous process. You cannot carry it for self-defense. That takes a whole separate license. If you get a gun, they will absolutely not only interview your spouse, your ex-spouse, your ex-girlfriends, and all your neighbors to find out if you had a recent breakup for exactly the reason you're probably thinking of. They want to make absolutely sure that anything that happens with that is not for reasons of anger or acting irrationally.
What if you've been like single your whole life and you just buy it?
You just buy it. Then you can take it from your house to the Target area in a locked box. If you want to get a carry-on, so you can just carry it around with you for protection, you have to have a lot. There's a much more paperwork you have to go through. Just to get a gun, yeah. If you want to carry one, then you have to show that you're in a profession or have some other reason that would require you to carry a gun.
In Canada.
In Canada. Now,
So you're allowed to have guns on you if you like get it registered. You can have them like in a holster.
yeah. There's no open carry in Canada, as far as I know. I may be lying. Miss Legasic is way more familiar with the laws than I am. But in Canada, and for a long time, we had more guns in the U.S. Because when in Canada can you have a gun? Hunting. How many people hunt in Canada? A lot. So you just have a bunch of guns in your truck, and you go like, I'm hunting. We all have long guns.
Long guns?
Long guns. Rifles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like shotguns and stuff.
As long as it's a hunting one.
Like shotguns are more
Yeah.
efficient
Okay.
than people too.
I'm getting way too distracted. I feel like this one's obvious. I'm going to skip it. Anybody feel like they have anything different in here? Hugo? Oh. You have something just on this one?
No, on the you shall not like.
You shall not bear false witness. Oh, we didn't have a universal agreement with that one. Which one are you going for?
Oh no, I was like, I had a question about the whole self-defense thing.
Yeah?
If someone broke into my house with the intent to steal, but had a deadly weapon, or like a deadly-ish weapon, like a metal pipe.
You have a gun or pipe, sure.
Yeah. If I woke up and I panicked and I blew their kneecaps into a fine red mist, would I get like a gun?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why do you have a
Just get a pipe as well.
The description.
Canadian law is that you cannot have loaded weapons easily accessible in your home.
What if it was in a safe
So this
If
is,
you have that much time to get it out of the state, you have enough time to run away.
yeah. In Canada, the law is always, did you have time to run away?
What if you're paraplegic for other?
This is a question, did you have time to run away?
Probably not, like, walking
Heavy.
and I see upstairs.
Like if there's no way for you to get away, then you're allowed. But if it's like, there's a back door, and you decided not to take it, you're at fault.
So if I like sleep upstairs, like,
Yeah.
and the windows have a sheer drop down,
It's
I'll
not
basically
that deep.
hurt myself.
Yeah, no, then you can't get away. For example, this is a American case, but it relates to Canada. Canada, you always have the duty to run away if you can. The duty in Canada is always to reduce injury. So there's a case in the States that's kind of similar, in which a gentleman had his house. It's an extra house he had, he did not live in it. People kept breaking in and stealing stuff. So he set traps. A burglar broke in, absolutely was a burglar, was there to steal. There's no doubt about that. The trap shot him, it was a shotgun trap, and turned him into a paraplegic. He could not walk anymore, required a wheelchair. The burglar was absolutely convicted and was sent to prison for a very long time. Then the burglar sued, after a number of years, sued the original owners. Because although he's paying for his crime, everybody agreed he should pay for his crime, is the punishment of the crime should be paraplegic for the rest of your life. And the court was like, no, that is, if you are setting traps for people, then you are creating a situation that is dangerous for anybody. Kids could have broke in. And sure, a burglar may come in and steal your TV, a $1,200 TV for society is a lot less expensive than a paraplegic. They always want to reduce injury. Now, the state has some other stand your ground laws in different states that have things where you absolutely can stand there and fire guns. Canada, it's always, could you run away?
So there's not like a thing saying that.
Now,
like,
your hand's been up for a long time.
And so when you have the chance to run, but you know the person is possible, like.
You have a chance to run, but
Yeah,
you
to
say
run away,
wait,
but like,
it's like
you
wearing
know,
his jersey.
like other Christmas definitely possible.
all of these would end with, you would have to prove that in a court of law. You are going to be charged.
Then they have like a race or something.
Yeah, like if they're chasing you and they're winning and there's no way you can get away, then that's when force becomes just. And people win force cases in Canada all the time. Like there's lots of situations where you can't get away. You can, if they see like you're a tiny person who can't run and the person attacking you is fit, like you can make that decision. But if you think you're going to be like, well, I thought they were, and it's very obvious to the court that you probably could have run. The court is not silly.
But maybe you have like a broken ankle.
Yeah, and then you're fine. You start shooting people with impunity. Yeah.
So there's no law saying that like once you break into someone's house, it's like everything is on you. Like there's no punishment for whatever happens to you. Like.
If you break into someone's house and someone dies as a result of your action, you will be charged with murder because someone died. But if you break into someone's house,
Yeah.
and the owner has created a way to be extra dangerous for you, then that is on the owner.
So there's like, I feel like it should be like at your own risk breaking into someone's house.
The state has no interest in turning every home into a minefield. You can imagine a society where every home is filled with traps.
Well, I find hard to believe that like the majority of people would actually take the time to do that, even though it would be kind of fun.
No, but even a minority doing that would create a lot of problems. Also, the courts will look at what's a reasonable outcome. You get caught, you go to jail, sure. But you get your legs chopped off, probably not. Now, people have made traps, but they spray them with like water to discourage people from coming in. So there's a guy who's got a semi-famous YouTube channel. When people always try to come into his home because he's down from a pub and then they get drunk. So he just has this elaborate trap set up. When they get to a certain point, the water sprays, and then as they run, more water starts spraying exactly where they are. And then he just has a YouTube channel that he makes a little bit of money off of everybody clicking on it and laughing at it. But no harm is done, they're just getting wet.
Like I've seen like a similar thing where like this guy has like packages to stop people from like stealing packages off Porsches.
Oh yeah,
And then,
Oh, the
yeah.
Mark Roberts guy.
and then, like, yeah.
Yeah, and so none of those are harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, is it what if you you have like signs saying if you trespass,
So
or
maybe
like,
someone came from the park.
what if
right?
signs
Like,
saying,
people
oh,
in the parks right now. It's like,
if
must be
you
children dying from that.
trespass, you'll be shot,
I feel bad though.
and then like
There are laws in Canada about signage. Trespassing, you would be shot. In Canada, you would still be in trouble if you shot someone for trespass. Different countries have different laws. In the UK, they actually have rite of passage laws. Anybody can trespass in country land. Doesn't matter who owns it. It's ancient rite of passage. If you are trespassing in Canada, absolutely someone may chase you away, but if they shoot you, they're going to be in trouble, provided somebody finds the body. See?
Is there like a limit to what our justice system could do?
Yeah, we don't have the death penalty.
We don't have the death.
We don't have the death penalty.
But what if it's like something else? Like, I'm sorry, I just remember this like short film I watched where this whole like concept of you like a family could like get one part of this person's body chopped off every week, like what? Through surgery or something like that. So there's a limit to what people what the law is allowed to do to people.
Yeah, there is.
It's usually just go to jail for
Go to jail for. There's also a maximum they're allowed to sentence you to. Life in Canada is not until you die. 25 years.
That's life.
That's life.
But you get.
Okay. I was gonna say that was the last one, but I don't think I've heard from you at all.
How many years would I go to prison for if I dismembered someone?
25 years. Okay. Whoa. We only have a few minutes left, so I want to cover this last thing. I'm not going to go through these because I think I've had too many side issues. What laws, if you were to write 10 commandments now to guide all of humanity, what's missing? If we were to take out some of the non-moral commandments, what's missing from this list? Yeah, and then yeah.
Thou shalt not pretend to be an animal.
You don't like furries, okay?
Probably, thou shalt not harm the environment in any way.
Something about the environment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in any way.
Well, people like old-timey talk. We're talking about. So thy. Any other ones?
No.
Thou? Yes.
Like about discrimination and like right for.
We discrimination laws. Yeah.
the government should
Pardon?
like completely free.
Slavery is not mentioned anywhere in here. So making sure everybody is free could be mentioned.
No, I said food and water.
I think it's everybody should be completely free.
No, like food and water.
Food and water should be so basic necessities.
Mr. Neutral, why are you thinking about that?
Why did you make that assumption?
Yeah.
Because I thought he said everyone should be free. And so my brain was slavery. I don't think it had anything to do with the color of the skin, but maybe it did.
But why do you think it's like?
Yeah, no, everybody else is free. Class is not over. No, I need everybody to be quiet because you have a last thing to do. Right now, Canada has tested before basic income, which no matter who you are, where you are, you just get money every month. And then everybody has a certain base level. That would be equivalent to food and water for everybody. Do not pack up just yet. Return to your seats. You are sitting back down. According to that, I still have 30 seconds. According to this, I'm overtime, but I'm going to go overtime until I can talk. If you're packing up, you're making this take longer. Sitting down. I'm waiting. So I'm going to post this. It's Scott, what questions arose about the 10 Commandments? What commandments you kept? Why did you keep them? Were there any commandments you changed or added? What was the justification for adding them? And then I'm going to add another line. What would be the new 10 Commandments? I want you to write up, if you were to do it from scratch, what would be the 10 rules that you'd want posted everywhere? I haven't put a due date on there. Your assignment today is due tonight. This will not be due tonight. It'll be due summer. Your reflection for today. Okay. If you understand what you're doing, you can go. If you have a question, I can answer.
Can you redo the same thing like, can you use like shrug and shut up kill?
Oh yeah, you could say you shall not kill except in self-defense. See you tomorrow. Yeah, we get 2 in a row.
I'm very curious, is it the same amount of years if I shot like someone, let's say self-defense?
Okay, I have to stop because I am not a legal expert. I am not. Miss Legasic, do you know Miss Legasic?
Yeah, I haven't mold you in.
She is more likely to be able to answer the question of what would be the differences. I would have to look up.
It's like, it's kind of obvious, but I don't know. Like, if I shot someone with like minor guns,
I think both of them are. I can't remember the term. It's not assault with a deadly weapon. That's an American term, but it might be aggravated assault in Canada. I think once you have done that, now where that would probably matter is when it comes down to the penalty phase. So how much damage did you do? Because the judges have some leeway in how much time they can assign. Are they going to assign you life, or are they going to assign you 10 years?
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll be convicted. You'll both be convicted. But then it's only after you're convicted, then they discuss sentencing. That's when your victims get to come up and say, what happened.
But what if the victim is like blowed up, like?
Yeah. Well, no. Then all of their family gets to come up and say,
"Oh, the family."
Yeah.
Oh.
And you have to sit there and listen to the family talk about, like, this is the impact on our family. This is how sad we are. This is what they used to do. Like, there's a whole thing that happens. Yeah.
Whole process.
Yeah. Alejandra?
No,
Oh, you just waited.
Yeah,
Okay.
Would there be some sort of bias against, like, if I had my open carry license and I was carrying, say, something like different calibers of bullets, say like a 500 Magnum versus a 9x19mm projectile, would there be some sort of bias towards what caliber of firearm I was?
Yeah, if you have a license and you're allowed to carry something around, and the court would assume you know what you're doing. So you would actually have a weightier responsibility to make sure your response was appropriate. In the same way that if you're a good Samaritan and someone like is hurt and you're helping them, if you make a mistake while helping them and you only know basic first aid, it's not your fault, even if you made things worse. But if a doctor's helping them and they make a mistake that they absolutely should not make, they're more liable because they're more of an expert. So one of the problems of walking around with a gun or a knife or something is that you're saying that you are more of an expert, and so even more should not have used it. You should have been able to get away. Yeah. Canada doesn't want injured people running around.
Thank you.
You're welcome.